Hey everyone, and welcome to West Monroe's RFP analysis tool demo. Creating RFPs that address the needs of various business units, like our legal and executive teams, is often complex and time-consuming. Reviewing and comparing vendor responses can be just as challenging. West Monroe streamlines both RFP creation and response analysis. In this demo, we'll show you how our accelerator quickly gathers input from multiple departments to generate a comprehensive RFP. We'll also demonstrate how our tool helps you efficiently analyze and compare vendor responses. Let's get started. All right, we're going to get started here by setting up our RFP project. What we're going to do first is we're going to give it a project name. I'm just going to call this demo project to keep it simple. We can provide a short description if you'd like, but for right now, I'm going to leave it blank. Next up is actually providing the discovery documents. So specifically, discovery documents are these right here. What they are is they're transcripts of requirements docs from various teams that we've talked to get their perspective on what the RFP should contain. In this particular scenario, we've talked to lending and consumer loan processing, alongside loan servicing, the executive team, legal and loss prevention, alongside just a general working session with everybody. The intent here is that we're gathering all the requirements that we're going to need to include in our RFP, and we'll use that to generate all the respective requirements. So what we're going to do here is we're going to select all of these, and we're going to drag these transcripts into here. We're going to upload those. And now we're going to go save the project. All right, so now that our project is saved, we're going to go generate our requirements. All right, now we're going to further characterize our requirements by inputting some general information about our client. First things first, we're going to provide the name of the bank. So in this case, we're going to call it the Hypothetical Bank of Washington. For the institution short name, we'll call it Bank of Washington. For the platform type, we'll just generically say it's an online bank. With regard now to the specific integration, this is the name of the institution's preferred or currently used vendor. In this case, let's call it this one right here as our example. For the general integration, we'll name the associated service with the integration. In this case, we'll say Payment Hub. So now that that's all inputted, we'll submit it. And our options have been saved. And now we can go and generate our requirements. This will take a couple minutes to complete, but at the end, we will have a complete list of generated requirements. So now our RFP has been created. So let's download this here. So this right here is the RFP that was generated. What we're looking at right now is the table of contents that breaks down into several sections. Number one is the company information, product information, risk questions, IT WCA questions, functional instructions, functional requirements, technical instructions, technical requirements, and finally, total cost of ownership. We'll start a review of this RFP by looking at the company information section, which is a good bearing for the rest of the document. So what we can see is that we basically have a list of questions that are broken down by category. For example, executive leadership team and years with the company. The vendor would respond with their answer right here in column E. And what I do want to draw notice to here is that on, for example, line 20, that it has a yellow highlight. The yellow highlight means is that we're able to generate this question using generative AI to analyze the sentiment of those initial transcripts with our client. So we were able to, based on their concerns, generate this question that's more tailored and more specific to their particular use cases and concerns. And that's really what sets this RFP creation tool apart, in that we are able to capture all of these requirements quickly in just a couple of minutes. All right, that was just a couple example questions. There are several other tabs that we've already discussed that contain tons more questions based on specific other features that the client was concerned about. But now, once we have approved all the questions in this RFP, we can send it out to our vendors for responses. So it's been a couple days and we got 3 hypothetical responses from 3 different vendors. So let's analyze what this might look like just to get our bearings right. So what we can see is that in the All Requirements tab, we basically have everybody's answer to a bunch of different questions, right? And so here's our question here, describing how your current customers can request changes to the base product. And then there's a response from the vendor. So that's the general template. And now what we're going to do is actually try to analyze all of these responses and get a comparison between all of the vendors. So we're going to go back into our original tool. We're going to go to vendor responses. All right, so now let's go upload our vendor responses. Let's go one at a time. We'll start here with this one. So we'll add this, and then we'll name it. and then we'll add that vendor in. All right, let me add the rest of the vendors. Okay, so now that I've loaded all three of our vendors in, we're going to save. And now we'll be able to analyze the responses. Now that the vendor analysis has completed running, we can actually do a comparison of all three of our vendors. Specifically, what we can do is we can actually select all three of these vendors and do a side-by-side comparison of all of them. What we can see is that for each vendor, we have a blurb that kind of describes the general overview of who the vendor is alongside a vendor score, and a hopper score alongside some hopper-powered analysis, such as differentiators, detractors, accelerators, and additional considerations, alongside some lead time and implementation timeline information if provided by the user. Let's go over, though, just this vendor in particular, and let's look at a potential differentiator, being that this vendor supports a wide variety of functionalities, including ACH processing, fraud detection, and compliance monitoring, whereas the potential detractor that we saw was that this requires custom API integrations for a lot of different things, which might be a consideration. We're able to compare that directly over here to the other vendor, and then alongside the third vendor down here. And we're also able to compare their hopper scores, which compares everything. So this third vendor got a 2.18 compared to the other two, which got a 1.94 and 1.96 respectively. So from this comparison, that third vendor would win. If we want to get even more technical, we can look at the technical overview section where we can start to compare things. We can also do a functional overview. We can also drill down into categories. Take a look at some of these specific items, such as cash management and treasury, for example. We can see different ratings. We can also do a side-by-side comparison where we drill down into specific technical requirements, such as ACH controls. We can see what type of hopper scores they all got, vendor to vendor. And last but not least, we can do a head-to-head comparison where we have established that Backbase is the current vendor who wins. And we can see the technical and functional requirements that were chosen that determined why Backbase won. So that completes our demo today of the RFP creation and analysis tool. Thanks for watching.